The YouTube vigilante group Dads Against Predators has had a warrant issued for their arrest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, over a shooting at a Target. So here's what it says here. Warrants have been issued for multiple people. Warrants have been issued for multiple people in a shooting and fight at a Triad Target. On Monday, the Winston-Salem Police Department released more information about an incident at Haynes Mall Boulevard that left an Ohio man shot. On December 29th, warrants were issued for 4 people involved in the altercation. So this is where it says police responded, and there was a gunshot. Someone arrived at the hospital with injuries to his head and face and told police he was inside Target when 3 men began assaulting him. Said he was hit multiple times and then brandished his gun. The article doesn't say, this is Fox 8. The article doesn't say that he had the gun illegally and was arrested for that, but he was. He then said the suspects took his gun and ran away, so he drove himself home and then to the hospital. So the 3 suspects, Jay Carnicom, Joshua Mundy, and Jason Chips. The 3 men are associated with Dads Against Predators, a social media group where private citizens lure suspected sexual predators in an effort to get them arrested. We've talked, maybe not them, but we've talked about other people like them on this show that have gotten in hot water in the past. So it says investigators determined the 3 men lured the victim. The victim. This guy's the victim. They lured the victim to Target over social media. He's the victim. What a sick society we live in. We don't live in a serious society. This is a clown world where the media calls this guy the victim. Their own article admits he went there to meet what he thought was a child and with a gun and initiated a physical conversation. I love when we add new sound effects to the show. But in what sane world is someone who brings a gun to meet up with the child they met online and then initiates a physical confrontation in the store and then discharges said gun in a fight he started, the victim? It's not, but that's the case. That's what they're saying, because this is, of course, clown world. A day after the assault, WSPD was contacted by a law enforcement agency in Ohio confirming that they had arrived in a hospital. Let's see. Let's get a little bit further down here. Yep, they have warrants for simple affray, which is essentially assault. Yep, he was arrested for illegally carrying a concealed handgun. So, Dads Against Predators released the chat logs with this guy, right? He thought he was meeting, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, maybe it was 13 or 14. I don't want this guy to sue me, since he already thinks he's the victim. But he was going to meet what he thought was a 12-year-old girl at a Target, where they were then going to leave to go hang out at a quarry, a rock quarry, in the middle of the night. Tell me, what constructive thing would a grown man who's carrying a firearm have to do with a 12-year-old girl at a quarry in the middle of the night? Listen, I'm not anti-cop. I'm not one of these all cops are bastards, abolish, defund the police, blah, blah, blah. But if I didn't know any better, I'd say the police seem to have a little bit more of a problem with these guys than the actual child predators. Now, I do think there is a conspiracy by the regime to normalize pedophilia, but I don't think the local cops in Winston-Salem, North Carolina are involved. I don't think it's that. I think it's, unfortunately, most of the time, it's the most boring answer. And the most boring answer is that it's a jealousy thing. They're getting shown up. They have egos, like we're all humans. We have egos. These cops are getting shown up. People scream and shout, why can't the cops do anything about child predators? And in some cases, their hands are tied. And I'd like to get Tony Connor on here to talk about that a little bit more, maybe. But in a lot of cases, their hands are tied, and they can't do anything about it, and I get that. But that doesn't mean you target the people that actually are. They're not breaking the law. So law enforcement's pride getting in the way of fighting crime is not a new concept. Like 9/11 happened, again, if you believe the official story, because the FBI, CIA, and NYPD all had information that would have ultimately led to them stopping it before it happened, but withheld it because they wanted to be the ones to crack the case. This is a guy who was willing to shoot people in a Target to keep a video from getting out. What do you think he was going to do with that little girl when he was done with her? He was going to shoot people in a Target so he didn't get in trouble. He was willing to kill strangers in a store, in public, to keep a video from getting out. What do you think he would have done to the 12-year-old little girl if he would have thought that she was going to go yammer? The Quarry. He was going to kill strangers for videotaping him and was going to take a little girl to the Quarry. What do you think he was going to do with her? Drop her off when he's done? Yet he's the victim here. You see the problem? The concentrated effort by the regime to normalize pedophilia. Do you think this is the first time these guys have done stuff like that? This is the first time these guys have been caught doing stuff like this. That's the problem here. Think about, any other crime except like maybe murder, right? Unless it's like a serial killer. But any other crime, think about it. And just stupid stuff. How many times did the people that smoke weed and get a ticket for marijuana possession, how many times have they smoked weed before they got caught? Anybody out there with a DUI? How many times did you drive home, maybe not wasted, but over the limit before you got caught? They say it's about 45 to 50 times. Now, hopefully it's not that extreme with that kind of thing, but the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said there was a 900% increase during COVID of inappropriate content or contact between adults and children online. That's a real statistic. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's not QAnon. That's more nonsense that your lockdowns created. So great job. If you shilled for the lockdowns and stay home, save lives, wear a mask, get vaccinated, blah, 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 that's another thing. So we've got the increased substance abuse, the suicide rate skyrocketing, mental health crisis, obesity. Now you can add that to your list of accomplishments. 900% increased during COVID of inappropriate contact online between adults and children. Great job, guys. And they get those numbers because websites like chat, like social media websites, automatically they have it set up so when someone reports inappropriate contact toward a minor, it gets sent to that to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So they have a legitimate database of everyone who's been reported, and that's just the people who've been reported. How many people haven't been reported? It's even higher. It's probably twice that, 3 times that. Because I was watching an interview with Chris Hansen a while back, and he said that he spoke to a group of kids, and every single one of them said they had been contacted inappropriately by an adult they didn't know online. And only one of them told their parents, and the biggest fear was that they would get the internet taken from them. That was why they didn't tell their parents. Now, you can do with that information what you will, but that tells you that 900% is probably closer to 3,000. That conservative estimate. Like, that's insane to me. Now, from the police's perspective, I can understand and appreciate your concern here. You had a guy discharge a firearm in a public place. I get that. I understand why you're worried. You don't want people getting in fights and shootouts at Target. I understand that, right? Unless it's over the last elf on the shelf. But there's also a threat that you can get robbed doing a Facebook Marketplace deal. I've almost been robbed on Craigslist. Like, I can probably speak for a lot of people that listen to this show that for that reason, anytime I do a deal, not only am I in a public place, I'm packing heat. And I will use it. I don't carry it as a toy. I don't carry it for show. I will use it if you try to rob me. So if someone wants to get dumb at the Walmart parking lot while I'm buying their Apple Watch or they're buying one of my fiance's purses or whatever, then we can get dumb. But don't go out there saying that I'm this big security threat. It's the criminals that are going there for nefarious reasons that are the security threat to public safety. The police have also claimed that these people, these predator-catching vigilantes, have made it hard to make arrests or convictions with these guys because they're not law enforcement. Okay, so why don't you do it? You have no problem having cops all over the city just sit on hills with a radar gun and extort people for money because they went 6 over the speed limit while they were running late to get their kid from daycare. You don't think it might be a more constructive use of your time to give 2 cops an iPhone and a fake Grindr account? You don't think that would be a constructive use of time? Again, not anti-cop, but I have no problem pointing out legitimate issues with law enforcement in this country. These guys catch more predators in a weekend than your local police department probably will this year. It's not that hard. Like, a lot of the people on these YouTube channels, like, these are like, they have no college degree. They have no training. They don't have bulletproof vests. Most of them don't have guns. They don't have at least not that they show. They don't have backup. They don't have a badge. None of that. They go in and they catch these people and they expose them. And you know what? Maybe they don't do it perfectly. And maybe some of them are in it for the clout, but at least they're doing something about it. Like, if the legal system in this country is truly broken to the point that the police can't go after those guys, that there's something tying their hands that they would say, oh, it's entrapment to pretend you're a young girl and get them to come or whatever, then fine. Use some of that police union money to rally the legislature in your state. You have no problem launching a full PR campaign against the person who was shot and every single person they've ever come into contact with anytime there's an officer-involved shooting. And I don't blame you for that. A lot of the times those get blown out of proportion. But if you can do that, if you can stir up the money to attack the mother publicly, to have launched Twitter campaigns and attack the mother of someone who got shot in an officer-involved shooting, you can certainly call a couple state senators and say, hey, why don't you change the law so that we can actually take child predators off the streets? As insane as American politics have gotten, I can't imagine too many people on either side of the spectrum who would vote no to that, unless there was a bunch of pork loaded in on the back, which always happens. We get that. But a straight bill that said just that, I can't imagine there's many people that would say, hey, I don't think that it should be easier to arrest pedophiles on the internet that want to meet up with kids. I don't think we're that far gone as a country. If we are, then, oh boy, I'm moving to the country and I'm building a bunker. We're not that far gone yet. Did you know, this is a fact, in most states, it is completely legal, not illegal, legal, legal, to meet up with a child you met off the internet as an adult, as long as there was no sexual contact between you. So if you didn't use the buzzwords, you can go meet up with a 12-year-old at the mall, and you haven't broken any laws. You haven't broken any laws until you actually break the law. Totally legal in North Carolina, where that happened. So you don't use the buzzwords, you're fine. 40-year-old guy can meet your 12-year-old daughter off the internet. Do you not think we're in a grooming culture? And that's a loophole. Like, I don't want to make it seem like they did that on purpose. But change the law. Change the law. You'll have overwhelming public support. The bill will face next to no opposition in the legislature as long as you don't put a bunch of crap on the back end of it. Change the law to make it so you can arrest people who think they're meeting up with minors. That's all you have to do. I know you guys have connections in the legislature. Make the phone call. The detectives, they've said that they're pushing these guys underground and making them more careful about how they offend in the future. Well, maybe, but that's a pretty weak argument too, to be honest. Like, these guys clearly have the internet. The resources are there to know the risk. And some of the time they'll release these chat logs and the guys will ask, are you a cop? Are you Chris Hansen? Like, is this one of those stings? Or they'll ask for, like, the decoy to send pictures with, like, X amount of fingers up or doing something like licking a stapler or something goofy like that you wouldn't just have a picture of your phone or you couldn't just find on Google. Also, they clearly were not on your radar until they got exposed on these YouTube channels. Albeit flawed, I'll give you that. Or they would have been in jail already. They're not on your radar. So the argument that it's making it harder to bust these guys is disingenuous, but because it would require an actual desire on your end to bust them. But since you can't make money off of it and meet your quotas, you won't do it. Listen, this whole country, the entire economy, is based on the concept of supply and demand. There is a demand to catch these sick freaks, and the police will not provide it. So a third party has decided to provide the supply. I'm sure you guys would do it better. You'd be more professional, less messy, and you'd put a lot more people in jail. But right now, you're not doing it. So a couple guys with iPhone cameras is the best we can do. Quit bitching and fix the law. This is proof. The Dads Against Predators, they have the warrant for their arrest for confronting someone who was going to meet a 12-year-old girl and take her to the quarry. Was willing to kill strangers so a video of him didn't surface online. God knows what he would have done to that little girl. Warrants issued for them. This is the system will, you guys see what I'm saying? No one is coming to help you. The system will at best do nothing and at worst actively work to protect the bad guys. You have to protect your own now. You have to look out for your own. You can't rely on the cops to do anything but come and take pictures of the body now. And that's not a knock on cops. Most of them don't stop crimes. They investigate them. That's just a reality. Seriously, you have to take care of your own. Nobody is coming to the rescue.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese Spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.